now with the following collection of
What's good? What's good? Or should I say, he's back? Yeah, I want to drop some more jewels on y'all. I can't get through the day without doing my 2 videos. I was looking over, my atlas, my map. That's what I call it. It's what I write in. From time to time, I write down my thoughts, and I write down the downloads that I get from the Most High. Um, you know, and just going through my thinking process, I wanted to share some things with y'all. And it just really boils down to the accountability aspect of becoming the best version of yourself. And in order to do that, you really got to take some time and do some deep diving and some self-reflection. And so I just wanted to share a few things that were on my heart. I think I wrote this maybe a few weeks ago. So I want to present this reality to you today. And I went through and I was just conducting an honest analysis of myself. And I really like to do that on Mondays. Mondays, that's a moon day. That's a day of reflection. And when I took the time to critique the individual in the mirror, I realized that that's really a form of self-love. And you can't be authentic to anyone else if you're not authentic to yourself. Meaning you got to keep it real with yourself. You know, a mirror is truly a channel that leads to accountability. So once you look in the mirror and you look at your flaws, you look at your strengths, you look at your weaknesses, and when you can give an honest assessment of yourself and take accountability for everything, not just the good, you got to take accountability for the bad. When you can do that, that's when you're going to experience some real growth. That's when you're going to experience the real breakthroughs. And I don't just mean financially, I mean spiritually. You start to gather a different perspective of the world and a different perspective of life. That mirror is undefeated, man. It's really undefeated. So, people, they often find excuses and vices in their minds, and it allows them to kind of evade accountability, kind of get away from reality, or you think you're getting away from reality, but eventually reality is going to catch up to you. So you can't keep kicking the can down the road. Accountability is basically a principle that gives you dominion and power over your life. So if you want power, the only way to seek and gain true power is accountability. That's why they say, the saying, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. Accountability is the cost of being the boss. You want to boss up, you want to take dominion over your life, then you got to take accountability. Because if you push the buck on to everybody else, you're never going to take accountability. And guess what? If it's everybody else's fault, then you never in true power. That means everybody else is controlling where you going. They're controlling your trajectory. They're controlling how far you can go in life. So the root of it is, I guess the synopsis of it would be that accountability removes power from everyone else and everything else outside of yourself. So it all boils down to going back into self. And, it really requires a mindset shift, and you got to train yourself. So it's not just training your body. You got to train your mind in order to think differently than what you're used to. We want to be individuals that wield power and dominion over our circumstances. We don't want to be the ones that blame everyone else and not take accountability, because it's really a position of weakness. And at Jewels of Authority, you know, we trying to step into our power. I'm not even gonna say we stepping into our power. You know, we got things that we need to accomplish, and they're not gonna get accomplished by waiting on somebody else to do it, by not holding ourselves accountable. It's just not gonna happen. So it's always easy to find excuses for failures and non-performance and things like that. But to take outright responsibility for everything that transpires, that can only strengthen your character. That can only strengthen your resolve. So you'll be able to find solutions to any problem once you realize, hey, I just got to go within. You know, I got to figure this thing out. I got to find the solutions. You know, a lot of times we dwell on unfavorable circumstances. We kind of get into a mode of like dwelling on that instead of focusing on the solutions and figuring out what's the lesson that we can gather. What can we gather from what we perceive as negativity? Because a lot of times it's just feedback. And so if you shift your perspective and you say, okay, this feedback that I'm getting this feedback for a reason, you know, and it's not just to put me in a bad mood. It's not for me to run and turn in devices or try to do something to distract myself from the fact that this is happening. It's feedback for me to get better. And once you shift your mindset and your perspective and you start to think in terms of, okay, yes, this is happening, but I'm not going to look at it as though it's happening to me. I'm going to look at it as though it's happening for me. It's happening for me to make a change. In other words, yes, I may be sick right now, but that's happening for me to change my diet. That's happening for me to change my lifestyle. That's happening for me to change my workout habits. That's happening for me to get more rest. You see what I'm saying? And you can apply that to a lot of different scenarios, the majority of scenarios in your life, because we're taking power and dominion over our lives. So again, instead of complaining about unfavorable circumstances, let's focus on the solutions. Let's shift our perspective. This requires a mindset shift. And every time you have those negative thoughts, those thoughts that keep you down and feeling like, you know, damn, I just can't catch a break. You got to reprogram your brain. You got to reprogram your mind, and you got to say, nah, I'm not going to let these thoughts defeat me. Because at the end of the day, I have control over my mind. I'm learning to take control over my mind daily. I'm exercising my mind just like I'm exercising my muscles, because I know that it's mind over matter. So nothing else matters if it's mind over matter. Everything that you see out here was created from the mind. All the circumstances that you see out here, everything that you see that man made, it first started as a thought. So imagine you being your own enemy and having bad thoughts, having detrimental thoughts. So now you're creating a detrimental environment, you know? Yeah. So let's just analyze our behavior. It all starts in the mirror. It all starts with accountability. You know, try to get control of the vices. Realize that they're just temporary escape routes, and you're not really escaping anything. You're just kicking the can down the road, and you're creating a bigger problem for yourself down the road. Let's take power over our lives. Let's take dominion over our lives. Let's be leaders out here. Let's not follow the crowd. Let's not do what everybody else is doing. Let's be original. Let's bring all of that back, man. This your boy One Mike tapping in. I'm signing out. Jewels of Authority. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. If you got something out of this message, like, share, subscribe. Whatever you do, I greatly appreciate it. And I'm gone.